supplement, atong saligan, aron virus, malikayan.
Mahalagang paalala, ang produktong ito ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
RPN Radio Philippines Network Radyo Ronda DX General Santos, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Mas tulong lakas, Radyo Ronda Nationwide.
In Texas, the Commission on Elections wants to hold what it says are hybrid debates among presidential and vice presidential aspirants ahead of the 2022 polls. Are aspirants ready for the face-off? And Filipinos across the country are making last-minute visits to cemeteries and columbariums a day before these facilities close yet again for Undas. More revelations about the controversial government supplier Pharmaly Pharmaceutical. Pharmaly did not pay taxes last year despite bagging billions of pesos worth of government contracts, according to documents submitted to the Senate by the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Our Amor Santos joins us live for the details. Amor, tell us more about this.
Ruth, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee makes public the tax information of those involved in alleged procurement anomalies, including Pharmaly and its officers, as well as former Duterte advisor Michael Yang. The documents were submitted by the Bureau of Internal Revenue for closed-door session, but the committee approved the motion to declassify them. According to Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Richard Gordon, it's covered by the public's right to information on matters of public concern. In the summary presented by Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, Pharmaly did not pay taxes in 2020. Despite bagging 10 billion pesos in government contracts for the supply of medical goods. Drilon said Pharmaly is even claiming a reimbursement of nearly 600,000 pesos. Senators also questioned the income tax returns filed by Pharmaly officials Mohit and Twinkle Dargani. The siblings have not surfaced since they were ordered arrested for refusing to provide documents subpoenaed by the Senate.
Ours of the Darganis are incomplete and have several unreadable portions, but the taxable incomes and taxes paid appear to be very low, especially that they, considering that they were able to buy luxury cars during the relevant periods. Under the law and under the regulations, those who bid for the supply of medical supplies, PPE, etc., should submit a certification of the taxes paid, etc. So this again would indicate the need for us to closely review how the PSDBM is able to get away with all of these apparent violations of our existing laws.
CNN Philippines has requested comment from Pharmaly. Meanwhile, Chinese businessman and former Duterte advisor Michael Yang, whom Pharmaly officials earlier identified as their guarantor and financier, did not file any ITR from 2014 to 2017. In 2018, he paid 7,600 pesos in taxes from his taxable income of 208,000 pesos. Yang said he will consult with his accountant. Another top supplier, Chinese company Suzhou Construction Machinery Group, has no income tax record since 2017. Its country manager earlier admitted they did not pay income taxes because they are a state-owned company of China. But Drilon pointed out they are taxed for transactions made in the Philippines. Like Pharmaly officials, the chairman of Suzhou also met with President Duterte in 2017.
Yung mainit na tinanggap sa Malacanang noong 2017, as the minority leader also graphically illustrated earlier, tax evader pala ngayon.
Senators are urging the BIR to conduct a special audit on Pharmaly, Suzhou, and other suppliers due to possible tax evasion. Back to you.
So, Amor, is there a ballpark figure on how much taxes the government should have received from these suppliers?
Well, Ruth, according to Drilon, it's just his estimate. If the DBM procurement service paid to the suppliers the entire 42 billion pesos transferred by the Department of Health, then there would be a taxable or potential income tax due of more than 7.5 billion pesos from these suppliers, Ruth.
Amor Santos there reporting. Despite a downtrend in COVID-19 cases nationwide, the country is still the worst place to be in during the pandemic. That's according to the latest Bloomberg COVID-19 resilience ranking. This is the second straight month the Philippines placed last among 53 nations in terms of resilience and response to the global health crisis. All economies at the bottom 5 are in Southeast Asia, with the exception of Romania. Bloomberg notes that while the outbreak in Southeast Asia may have peaked and vaccination has improved, many of the region's nations are still reeling from the surge caused by the Delta variant. For vaccines czar Carlito Galvez, calling the Philippines the worst place to be during the pandemic is a biased comment. He notes Bloomberg's ranking only covered 53 out of over 200 countries in the world.
Yun lang ang question natin, bakit hindi kasama yung ibang countries that they have only selected 53. We believe that the COVID-19 response should be measured totally. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na apat na parameters. One is death, second is recovery and treatment. Third is yung tinatawag natin yung number of cases and active cases. And also ang last is yung economic recovery. I believe Nikkei Asia, considering that and also Bloomberg, they are concentrated more on economic recovery. It's a biased comment. Because it's a biased comment considering that in every peak of every country, that's the worst place that you will be here.
Bloomberg says it uses a number of indicators in its monthly ranking, including virus containment, quality of health care, vaccination coverage, overall mortality, and progress toward reopening borders to tourists. The vaccination of 12 to 17 years old will begin in Metro Manila and selected areas next Wednesday. What do we know so far about the national rollout of pediatric vaccination? Carolyn Bonkin tells us.
Quezon City resident Gerson Locado has registered his 12-year-old daughter Riza for COVID-19 vaccination.
Malaking tulong din para makalabas ng mga bata.
By next week, Riza may be scheduled to get her shot. The government will roll out Pfizer and Moderna vaccination for adolescents 12 to 17 years old in Metro Manila on November 3rd. The rest of the country will follow on November 5th. The process will be the same as adult vaccination, but teenagers need to show proof of affiliation like a birth certificate and an identification card. Both parents and child should agree on the vaccination.
Yung issue ng supply, we have enough already that will cover them.
Children will be inoculated in regular vaccination sites, but a bigger space is needed since they will bring an adult companion who may also get vaccinated on the same day. A separate or bigger monitoring area for possible side effects is also required.
May mga ibang side effect na hindi nakikita sa adult. Kagaya nung anxiety reaction.
It's up to local governments to decide whether or not to hold pediatric vaccination in hospitals and if it will be done every day or only on selected days. In Quezon City, there are 24 schools, hospitals, church, malls, and homeowner associations tapped for pediatric vaccination.
For the hospitals naman, it will be for pediatric patients with comorbidities. Doon sa mga ibang sites naman namin na outside of the hospitals, we will cater also to those that have comorbidities but also for the general population ng pediatric population. But they will have a special lane for those that are children with comorbids.
Capacity of existing vaccination sites accommodating children will also be reduced, and strictly walk-ins will not be allowed. There are about 300,000 12 to 17-year-olds in Quezon City, and with a Monday to Saturday schedule, the local government plans to inoculate 80% of this age group within 2 weeks. In total, there are 12.7 million 12 to 17-year-olds nationwide. Most are from Metro Manila, Calabarzon, and Central Luzon.
It will also help build confidence na pwede nang mag face-to-face yung mga nabakunahan na mga na bata. They can now go to school face-to-face.
It's good news for Riza, who look forward to seeing her friends in school. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
The government is upbeat about meeting vaccination goals as more vaccines arrive in the country. Nearly 900,000 AstraZeneca doses donated by the Japanese government were delivered earlier today. The second batch, containing more than 900,000 Pfizer shots, will be coming in tonight at around 9. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says the donated shots come at a crucial time as the government expands the vaccination program to include minors. The latest arrival would bring the country's supply to an accumulated 100 million doses. Presidential aspirants are ready to face off in a debate. Our Paulo Barcelon tells us the Commission on Elections plans to implement a hybrid format.
It was a busy day for Manila Mayor Isko Moreno as he visited 2 factories here in Pampanga. Moreno says while meetings with people are his focus at the moment, he's ready to go face fellow presidential aspirants in a debate.
Actually, pabor sa tao yun. Dahil malalaman ng tao yung kung anong intensyon and pananaw ng mga kandidatong katulad ko. Basta ako, issue-based ako.
Partido Federal ng Pilipinas standard-bearer Bongbong Marcos says he too is up for the challenge.
Well, basta't gagawa ang COMELEC, kung meron silang i-organize na debate, ay siyempre ay tayo makikilahok dyan.
Senator Manny Pacquiao earlier suggested that presidential debates be done face-to-face.
Personal, face-to-face. Bakit online? Tatakot sila. Wala naman akong tinatago. Hindi man ako, kumbaga, sincere naman ako.
Vice President Leni Robredo agrees with Pacquiao, saying issues are best solved when they're together in one event. For Partido Reforma standard-bearer Senator Panfilo Lacson, debates will help Filipinos scrutinize their next leaders. PDP Laban presidential aspirant and Senator Bato de la Rosa favors a face-to-face debate as well. He says this will avoid the possibility of candidates using technical problems to evade hard questions. Another presidential hopeful, Labor leader Calyodi de Guzman, agrees to a debate regardless of how it should be done. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez says the 2022 election debates will feature a hybrid format. There will be candidates on stage, but their supporters will attend virtually. They're also studying the possibility of expanding the number of vice presidential debates next year.
Last elections, we had 1 vice presidential debate, which CNN hosted. So they might deserve their own debate series. So we're looking to have essentially 6 debates, 3 for president and 3 for vice president.
In San Fernando, Pampanga, Paulo Barcelon, CNN Philippines.
Presidential aspirant and Vice President Leni Robredo took time to visit fisherfolk in Tabaco City and Bakakay towns in Albay. She turned over 2 units of motorized fiberglass boats and launched the locally funded Lambaklad project. Robredo's office also gave 2 fish cages for rabbit fish production as an alternative livelihood. Another presidential aspirant, Labor leader Calyodi de Guzman, joined health workers in a protest action. The frontliners gathered in front of the Senate to call for fair compensation. Some health workers said they have not received their special risk allowances and other benefits. De Guzman said he joined the rally to submit a position paper on the additional COVID response fund for healthcare workers. Coming up on Newsnight, a check on the situation at a cemetery in Metro Manila on the eve of temporary facility closures for Undas. And more Filipinos hopping on planes, proving that the so-called revenge travel is real. Keep it here on CNN Philippines.
General Santos, member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Mas tulong lakas, Radyo Ronda Nationwide.
Oh, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress. Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa. Suportahi ang imong immune system para mabatukan ini ang mga viruses sama sa corona ug uban pa. Pag Herbalaya Food Supplement every day. Aduna kini mga natural herbs ug antioxidants nga mo pakusog sa imong immune system. Batukan ang mga viruses. Mag Herbalaya Food Supplement matag adlaw. Inyong mapalit sa inyong mga suking butika bisan asa. Herbalaya Food Supplement. Atong saligan aron virus malikayan.
Mahalagang paalala, ang produktong ito ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Mga butang nga angay himuon aron malikayan ang COVID-19. Proper hygiene. Batasana ang makanunayong paghunaw og kamot gamit ang tubig ug sabon sulod sa 20 segundos. Likayi ang paggunit sa nawong, mata, ilong ug baba. Tabuni ang baba ginamit ang mask, panyo o kamot kung ikaw muubo o muhatsing. Ayaw panluwa bisan asa. Batasana ang regular nga pagkaligo. Ipabilin ang kahinlo o kahapsay sa panimalay. Katulog sa saktong oras. Alang sa mga concerns, tambag, sugyot o suhestyon, tawag sa Gensan COVID-19 Hotline 0951-088-8801 hangtod 8807. Sa giyera kontra COVID-19, ang atong armas
DX General Santos.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Filipinos in Metro Manila will be marking Undas at home for the second year in a row. Cemeteries in the region will be closed to visitors beginning tomorrow until November 2 to minimize the risk of COVID-19 transmission. Thousands made last-minute visits ahead of the closure. Tristan Odalo now joins us live from the Manila North Cemetery. Tristan, what's the latest situation there?
Ruth, neither bad weather nor health restrictions prevented thousands to troop to Metro Manila cemeteries ahead of their scheduled closure beginning Friday. So far, over 14,000 people went to Manila North Cemetery to visit their departed loved ones. But the number pales when compared to its pre-pandemic levels of around 500,000 to 1 million daily during Undas. The cemetery was closed at 5 in the afternoon. Some understood the reason for the closure, while others who failed to make the cut-off time expressed their frustration.
Ang haba po ng araw, ang haba po ng iniyano natin, okay?
Ano po siya?
November 3,
po kasi siya,
November
kaya
3 bubuksan po natin, okay? November 3 bubuksan po natin.
Kasi.
Kaya nga po, lahat nyo, kung papayagan natin yan, after 5 o'clock, marami pa rin tao dyan sa ano. Kesa magkahulihan tayo dyan, magkaanuhan tayo dyan, sumunod na lang po tayo.
Galing pa ako kaming trabaho wala ako kaming wala na ako kaming time na galing kaming trabaho.
Hindi po ako nanonood kasi nagtatrabaho po ako. Pag galing ko po ng trabaho, gawain bahay po yung ginagawa ko. Sana, pinagbigyan sana kasi wala pa namang alas 5 Sayang yung effort tsaka yung pamasahe. Di ba, tsaka yung oras.
Health protocols were strictly enforced at the Manila North Cemetery. There were 2 separate lanes for men and women. For the inspection of their belongings, minors were not allowed to enter. At the Loyola Memorial Park in Marikina earlier today, there were close to 1,000 visitors. For some, it remains a family tradition, but the restrictions have dampened the occasion. Less family members could visit and no more overnight stays.
Yung dati, kasi mas masaya kasi nga kasama namin lahat, mga bata. Ngayon kasi lungkot, 3 lang kami. Nagtatanong nga kung kailan daw matatapos yung virus. Sabi ng bunso ko, kailan matatapos yung virus? Kasi nga gusto nila sumama dito.
Kasi before, nag-overnight kami dito hanggang 2, alternate ba, rotation. Tapos ngayon, hindi na. Kasi by tomorrow yata talagang very strict na, kaya nagpunta na kami ngayon.
Pinilit na.
O kasi karamihan kami 3 senior Baka hindi na pumayag. Kaya talagang pinilit na namin ngayon. Sinamantala na.
Back here at the Manila North Cemetery, some of the visitors are leaving the premises. Police personnel are strictly checking the entry and exit points to prevent those who will attempt to still enter the cemetery. Back to you, Ruth.
Tristan, does the church have any advice for those maybe who won't be able to physically visit their departed loved ones? So how can they mark Undas?
Ruth, the church says that Undas is not only about visiting cemeteries or memorial parks, it's also about praying and remembering the departed and praying for their souls. Let's listen in.
Sarado nga ito. Pwede nilang gawin ay manatili sa bahay at magdasal bilang pamilya. Mag-alay din sila ng mga bulaklak dito. Dahil bukas naman yung mga simbahan, pwede din sila magsimba. At sa kanilang pagsisimba, mag-alay din sila ng intensyon para sa mga yumao.
Filipinos can also check Undas online website, and churches will also stream their masses during Undas. So these are some of the alternatives for Filipinos who will stay at home during Undas. Back to you, Ruth.
Tristan Adalo there reporting. More Filipinos are catching flights to the provinces to spend time with their families or simply go on vacation this Undas. Some, however, are still confused about the travel requirements of local governments. Rex Remitio has more from the Ninoy Aquino International Airport.
If you're going to the airport, this is what you will see. Although the number of passengers is not as many compared to pre-pandemic times, more travelers are going to provinces than the previous months and the Halloween weekend last year. Some of them will spend quality time with their loved ones, but an airline says more are wanting to spend their vacation in tourist spots like Boracay, Bohol, and Cebu. This is what they call revenge travel, which comes after spending too much time indoors due to the pandemic. About 93% of plane seats have been filled in, and the number of those going to Boracay is 4 times higher. It's twice for those bound for Cebu and Bohol. Due to the surge, the staff of an airline are now on call. More flights will be added if the need arises. Some passengers, however, are still confused about the travel requirements. One of them is Marlon. He missed his flight for Rojas City in Capiz after forgetting to make an S-Pass. He will spend 7,000 pesos more to rebook his ticket for a weekend flight.
Okay naman yun, sir, kasi para naman sa kaligtasan ng natin.
Aisa, meanwhile, almost missed her flight for Davao City. She thought an antigen test is the same as an RT-PCR test. She underwent swab test last night as advised by her travel agent. She says it's better to spend for the COVID-19 test than to rebook her ticket.
Siguro kailangan talaga ng pasensya. Oo, pasensya. Kasi kapag wala kang pasensya, wala. Sobrang stress talaga yung kumbaga naranasan namin.
What's important for Marlon and Aisa is to be with their families this long weekend. Airlines remind passengers to complete travel requirements of the local government of their destination, since these requirements are checked at the airport prior to departure.
Alam naman po natin na medyo maluwag na yung restrictions ngayon. Bumababa yung bilang ng COVID, pero hindi po ito dahilan para maging complacent din tayo or ipagwalang bahala natin yung safety protocol na ipinatutupad.
Be at the airport 3 hours before, kahit domestic yan. Kasi mas mahaba ngayon ng oras ng pag-check ng travel requirements. Depende sa pupuntahan nyo na destination.
Airlines also advise passengers to book their flight a week before the day of departure. This is to ensure sufficient time in completing the requirements of the LGU. Rex Remitio, CNN Philippines.
As more and more Filipinos travel for leisure after months of being cooped up in their homes, the tourism industry finally sees the light at the end of the tunnel. The hospitality sector, meanwhile, is counting on faster and wider vaccinations so that even more people can travel.
Revenge travel is real. Everyone in the homes have pent-up desires to take their families to vacation. There are families that actually stay as long as 2 weeks and months here in Boracay to have a change of scenario, to be able to help their children have spaces to run openly.
Several popular tourist destinations and provinces have reopened to visitors as COVID-19 restrictions are relaxed with a slowdown of cases. Big gains are expected if more areas, including Metro Manila, shift to more relaxed measures next month. Economic Planning Secretary Carl Chua says some 16,000 residents in the region will get their jobs back under Alert Level 2 as businesses can accept more customers. This will add 3.6 billion pesos to the economy each week. A shift to Alert Level 1, meanwhile, would bring back 43,000 jobs and provide a weekly boost worth 10.3 billion pesos. Economic growth is expected to return to the pre-pandemic pace next year. But at a forum hosted by the Economic Journalists Association of the Philippines, Chua admits some sectors will lag behind for the next decade.
In the past, you can pack a amusement center or a tourist destination or a restaurant or the MRT pack 100% or even there is standing room. This is unlikely to happen for several more years.
Chua counts the long-term cost of the pandemic at a whopping 41.4 trillion pesos over the next 40 years. Meantime, the Health Department says Metro Manila is under moderate risk for COVID-19 with improvements in healthcare utilization. The 2-week growth rate of the virus is slowing down, but the average daily attack rate remains high. The agency notes it is important that local governments are ready and the public strictly follows health protocols if the region shifts to Alert Level 2. A diversified conglomerate's greening program in degraded forest lands continues to expand 3 years after it began. San Miguel Corporation says it has planted 3.5 million trees in 1,000 hectares of upland and coastal lands to help rehabilitate damaged areas and improve the livelihoods of rural communities there. The survival rate is 89% for upland trees and 91% for mangrove saplings. SMC President and CEO Ramon Ang says the firm's target is to plant endemic trees and fruit tree species over 4,000 hectares nationwide, based on the recommendations of the Environment Department and local communities. Next on Newsnight, take a look at some of this year's People's Choice Award nominees, featuring contenders from Korea. And Adele is treating fans in London to concerts next year, but buying tickets proved to be a challenge. Details when we return.
DX General Santos. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Mas tulong lakas, Radyo Ronda Nationwide.
Huy, naunsa man ka? Nagbugot lagi ka. Kabalon ako. Ikapoy ka no. Sakit imong lawas tungod sa sobrang trabaho o sakit imong ulo tungod sa stress? Pahuway una, ginhawag lawom ug hiluta ang imong ulo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Kay mausab ni akong ginahimo. Maunga kung taas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag Herbalaya break sa
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa. Ang lemongrass o tanglad na pamatudan nga makapakunhod sa blood pressure. Ang luyang dilaw makawala sa insomnia ug bad cholesterol. Ang ampalaya gamhanan alang sa diabetes. Ang malunggay nga puno sa vitamina ug minerals. Kining tanan ug uban pang mga natural antioxidants ana sa Herbalaya Food Supplement. Proteksyon ni ang imong lawas. Tumar og Herbalaya Food Supplement matag adlaw mapalit sa imong suking butika bisan asa. Herbalaya Food Supplement, atong kadangpan o kasaligan.
Mahalagang paalala, ang produktong ito ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Sa mga minamahal naming mga member, consumer owners, maaari din pong magbayad ng Socoteco 2 Power Bills sa mga sumusunod na payment channels. Para sa full payment ng past due at current accounts, maaaring magbayad sa SM Mall of Jensan, Save More Kalumpang at Save More Purok Malakas. At para naman sa full payment bago ang due date, maaaring magbayad sa M. Luwilier, Palawan, RD Pawn Shops at Socoteco 2 Accredited Banks. Isang paalala mula sa Socoteco 2.
Gusto mo bang kumita habang nasa bahay ka lang? Gamit lang ang cellphone, laptop at wifi mo. Mag C4x4 system ka na. C4x4 system ka na. Magandang sistema para sa lifetime income mo. At hindi lang yan, dahil solid detailed certificate of DTI and Security Exchange Commission o SEC. Maaari silang bistahin sa kanilang Facebook page sa C4x4 system or tumawag sa numerong 0912-117-5516.
RPN DX General Santos.
Video of the year. The 7th play released just last month is also up for Music Video of the Year. The 7-member act has more chances to snag the trophy with another hit, Butter, nominated under the category. And from the same music label, K-pop group TXT is making their People's Choice Awards debut, nominated for New Artist of 2021. The K-drama industry isn't lagging behind either, with Netflix's most-watched series Squid Game qualifying for binge-worthy show of 2021. Adele's comeback has been so well received that it's breaking records and her own website. After the singer announced 2 live events at London's Hyde Park for July next year, fans rushed to register for the pre-sale, but the site crashed because of the large influx of visitors. The hotly anticipated concerts will be her first since 2017. The hitmaker's latest single, Easy on Me, broke Spotify's record for most streams in a day. It is 58 days before Christmas. That's it for tonight. I'm Ruth Cabal, sitting in for Pio Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Honda DX General Santos, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Mas tulong lakas, Radyo Ronda Nationwide.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy nakaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa. Suportahi ang imong immune system para mabatukan niini ang mga viruses sama sa corona ug uban pa. Pag Herbalaya Food Supplement every day. Aduna kini mga natural herbs ug antioxidants nga mo pakusog sa imong immune system. Batukan ang mga viruses. Mag Herbalaya Food Supplement matag adlaw. Inyong mapalit sa inyong mga suking butika bisan asa. Herbalaya Food Supplement. Atong saligan aron virus malikayan.
Mahalagang paalala, ang produktong ito ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
RPN DX General Santos.
In this country, not everything really goes according to plan, and politics is, as usual, one of them. So whether you're the one-term mayor of the nation's capital who wants to be president, or the commission tasked to oversee elections with a looming substitution deadline that could throw the best laid plans out the window, it's all a very tricky balancing act. Good evening, I'm Pio Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix. This is Politics as Usual. Our guest tonight in this first segment of the show, the chairman of the Commission on Elections, Sharif Abbas. Good evening to you, Chairman Abbas. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's begin with this, sir. We have this November 15 deadline that is 2 weeks and 4 or 5 days away, and we are all in suspended animation. Waiting for that date, no? Because if that is the case, syempre may mga nagtatanong, why even bother with having an October 8 deadline to file COCs or certificates of candidacy? So, Chairman Abbas, my question is, do you favor amending the rules that allow substitution of candidates? Because that is something that some lawmakers have started to work on already.
Yes, good evening, Pia. No? On that note, actually, that is stated under the law na pwede yung substitution. The rationale behind it is very good. However, minsan nagiging strategy na rin ng mga kandidato yon. But ang purpose naman yun, Ms. Pia, is napakaganda dahil at least kahit papano kung merong magwi-withdraw, at least mabigyan ng konting oras man lang yung mga pwedeng mag-withdraw. Because under the rules, there are 3 instances on which pwedeng magkaroon ng substitution. Pwedeng voluntary at pwedeng involuntary. Kapag namatay, nag-withdraw or na-disqualify, yun yung mga instances na pwede tayong mag-substitution. But yun nga, sa ngayon nakakalungkot, na nagiging strategy na rin siya ng ibang kandidato.
Nagiging-
But sa akin naman, wala namang problema yon dahil nga sa hindi naman siya magmamatter on the candidacy of the candidate. So nandoon pa din siya sa depende sa impact or depende sa kandidato yan.
So strategy po ba siya, Chairman Abbas, or inaabuso na po?
Sa ibang aspect, Ms. Pia, ang iba, strategy talaga. Okay? Unang-una dahil ayaw nilang malaman, okay, kung sino ba talaga yung tatakbo. Pero sa kabilang banda, pwede rin nating sabihin parang abuse. Okay? Pero sa akin, hindi naman magmamatter because if that would be negative, nasa kandidato na yun.
Oo, pero hindi ba yan parang paglilinlang already? Because kung, they want to keep it a secret kung sino talaga yung secret candidate nila. That's not being very honest with the electorate, hindi po ba?
Depende kasi ang take ng Pia, alam nyo naman sa Philippine politics, uso din yung batuhan ng hindi maganda. So kung ikaw, sabi ko nga, depende sa kandidato, kung magiging strategy na yon na ayaw niyang munang magpakilala para at least hindi muna siya mabatikos for how many days or months. So depende pa rin yan, Pia. But yun nga lang, sana hindi siya magsaside siya parang abuse na siya.
But criticism, of course, Chairman, is par for the course, especially in Philippine politics and politics all around the world. No, but my question is: so, do you favor amending? Should we change the rules a bit? Because if you say it could be abused, it is used as a strategy, edi baguhin na natin yun para hindi na ganun ang mangyari sa atin.
Yes, Pia. Actually, that will be the call of Congress and the Senate and the House. You have to remember these lawmakers, kandidato rin sila. At may mga kandidato rin dyan na gumagamit ng substitution later on. Okay, but ang bottom line dito, Pia, is this is a law and this is allowed. So until hindi siya ma-amend, allowed siya. So wala tayong magawa doon, Ms. Pia.
Chairman Abbas, over the weekend we saw what was going on in Cebu. Halimbawa, Sara Duterte and Bongbong Marcos running into each other, meeting each other there. Yesterday, Bato de la Rosa speaking to Sara Duterte in Davao. No? So there's a lot of, ang daming ganap, as the young people would say nowadays. Ang daming ganap sa Pilipinas, sa Philippine politics ngayon. And I wanted to ask you theoretically, sir, if, for example, and you just tell us what should happen, okay? If Sara Duterte, halimbawa, was to decide to run for president and be, for example, PDP Laban standard bearer, what needs to happen? What process must be followed? Because syempre, nag-file siya COC to run for a third-term re-election as mayor of Davao. So ano pong mangyayari? Withdraw ng COC, etc., etc. Ano po yung proseso na dapat sundan?
Yes, kailangan, Ms. Pia, mag-withdraw muna siya doon sa final niya as mayor just in case talagang tatakbo siya as presidente. And then afterwards, she has to substitute, okay? Bato, if that would be the case. So magkaroon ngayon ng panibagong kona for president for PDP, if that would be the case. Okay? Pero depende pa rin kung saang partido siya magsasubstitute, just in case mangyayari yan. So withdrawal and then substitution later.
Okay. For example, kung si...
But Pia, it must be done on or before November 15 because if afterwards, wala na.
Okay. For example, itong si Bongbong Marcos, so he filed COC as president for the presidency. If BBM were to be the VP, for example, of Sara, and we're just talking in terms of theory, so how would that happen? He filed COC, so withdraw siya, tapos sub siya for someone else. So kailangan maghanap siya ng isang nag-file ng VP COC para siya ang pumalit. Ganun po ba? I mean, I'm not saying na ganun ang mangyayari, but, we never know, this is Philippine politics.
Yes, under the rules, Ms. Pia, dapat magsasubstitute siya sa isang taong may partido. So hindi siya pwedeng mag-substitute sa independent candidate. So maghahanap siya ngayon ng nag-file ng DP na merong partido. But he has to be a member din ng partidong yon. Otherwise, walang valid substitution.
Of course, anything can happen. I mean, let's say Sarah does decide to run, then it could be BBM Sara or whatever, no? Hindi natin alam. But anyway, also, Chairman, I wanted to move on to another issue. No? Can you tell us more about what to expect in the elections this time around? How different is it going to be? Of course, we all are aware of how the pandemic has changed so many things. But I wanted to ask first, very specifically, because we all remember in 2016, we had that, 5-6 hours long glitch. And I distinctly remember that election night because it was here in this very same studio where we were seated and we were waiting for the results. Parang 6 to 11 p.m., parang ganoon, Chairman. And that was so surreal, no? Are we going to be able to avoid something like that? Hindi na po mangyayari yung ganoon, Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Pia. Actually, in-avoid na namin yun. Meron na kami mga ginawang hakbang. Actually, parang na-choke lang yung parang internet connection, parang connection with the media. Pero wala namang pagkakaiba si resulta. Parang nag-bottleneck ba. So ngayon, ginawa na namin ng paraan na maluwang yung parang passage ng mga info papunta sa lahat ng server ng COMELEC.
Okay. So when you say yung sa media, you're talking about the transparency server ng PPCRV.
Yes. Actually, yung glitch, doon lang talaga siya sa media. Yung binabato sa media, doon nagkaroon ng bottleneck. Kaya parang nag-hang siya for 7 hours. Pero yung doon sa ibang server na dalawa, main server, tuloy-tuloy pa din yung pasok ng resulta. So yung media lang talaga yung naapektuhan, which the PPCRB also said na talaga wala namang dayaan na nangyari.
Yes. Chairman, also, since nabanggit ko na kanina, yung differences, what are we going to expect dahil pandemic? Kanina, meron na po kaming storya about what we can expect. For example, what kind of voting, how long people will be allowed to vote, etc. Is there something else we need to know that's so important at the moment? What can we expect on election day in the time of a pandemic? If the pandemic is still raging at that time.
Yes, Pia, napakalaking effect po ng pandemic. You have to remember that this is the first time that we will conduct an election during a pandemic sa ganitong generation. Walang naka-experience nito. So tinitingnan namin, Ms. Pia, pero ang priority natin is paano maging safe yung botohan this coming May. Okay? Safe siya sa mga teachers natin, safe siya sa mga botante natin, at safe siya sa lahat ng stakeholders na makikilahok nga sa eleksyon. So yun ang pinakamalaking problema namin, Ms. Pinky. That is why we had a simulation. Tinignan namin lahat ng pwedeng butas, mga problema, at susolusyonan namin yon with the coming days, Ms. Pia. So yun ang pinakamalaking hurdle natin is yung pandemic talaga. Doon naman sa hours ng voting, titingnan namin, Pia, yung turnout ng mga tao. If napakarami yung pila at tingin natin na lalagpas siya sa timeline natin. So if there's a need to extend it, then we will extend it.
Chairman Abbas, this is going to be a very interesting election because it is yet another automated election, and we're not exactly veterans yet, in that regard. At the same time, like you said, this is going to happen in a pandemic, in the time of a pandemic, and also, and most significantly, I think there are 3 of you in the commission. You, Chairman Sharif Abbas, Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, and Commissioner Antonio Co, who are going to be leaving the COMELEC just 3 months before the election. So, besides the question about ang hirap naman biglang mawawala kayo, may bagong papasok, kung kailan crucial, do we have an idea who's going to replace you? And I'm sure you already know, because there was this Politico article, saying that Melvin Matipag, who is Secretary General of PDP Laban, the President's political party, supposedly being eyed to be appointed to COMELEC. Of course, if you look at the Constitution, he fits the bill because criteria is 35 years old, lawyer, member of the Philippine Bar for 10 years at the very least. Pwede din naman siya. Pero meron na po bang nagsabi sa inyo na ito si Melvin Matibag ilalagay sa COMELEC at kung sino pa man ang magre-replace kay Commissioners Guanzon and Co?
Yes, Ms. Pia. Actually, to be honest with you, wala akong idea kung sino yung ipapalit sa amin. And this is also the first time that I heard someone matunog. Pero sa aking experience, Pia, kung sino yung matunog, hindi yan totoo. Okay? Sa aking experience lang. So, hindi ko alam kung sino. But I leave it to the appointing authority. But on the Ms. Pia, kailangan talaga, yun lang din yung hihilingin natin siguro doon sa appointing authority dahil paalis kami. And hindi pwedeng 3 lang may iiwan dyan, Ms. Pia, because walang magiging quorum. So, kailangan at least 4 yung may iiwan. So, sa ngayon, 6 lang kami. Pag aalis yung 3 may iiwan, wala silang quorum, Ms. Pia. That's why there's really a need na mag-appoint kahit isa man lang doon sa 4 na bakante.
And also a need to fill the 1 vacancy eh. 'Di ba? October or November daw dapat eh. Bakit gano'n? Ano ba 'yon? May nakalimutan or?
It would be February 2. Lahat kami, 3 kami, aalis kami ng February 2. So kailangan after that makapag-appoint at least ng isa para magkaroon ng quorum yung NBank. Otherwise, they cannot call a meeting or a business. Okay? So wala silang magiging decision dyan. But I think the Office of the President knows this very well. So hopefully they would fill it up after February 2. Mas maganda, kompleto, Ms. Pinky, because you have to imagine this is a presidential election and the COMELEC should be full in terms of membership.
And Chairman Abbas, just one final question. Would you prefer that yung mga ma-appoint sa COMELEC walang connections to political parties, and also should they be IT professionals given that our elections are now automated?
Alam mo, Ms. Pia, under the Constitution na naglagay dyan sa qualification, wala sa disqualification niya, Ms. Pia, na member ka ng political party. At wala din sa Constitution na sinabi na IT ka. Okay? So ang sinabi doon, at least 10 years ka in practice, majority are members of the bar, and then at least 35 years old. So pero it would be ideal, Ma'am Pia, that siyempre, since automated, at least IT expert yung mga malalagay. But sa ngayon kasi sa membership namin, Ms. Pia, yung si Commissioner Marlon Casquejo is a computer engineer. So meron na kaming IT expert who is also heading our steering committee. So ang importante kasi dito, Ms. Pia, is yung integrity nung papasok. Okay? More on the integrity because this is an independent commission and you have to balance all interests. Dapat hindi ka bias sa lahat ng mga kakandidato sa election. Yun ang pinaka-importante, Ms. Pia.
Very good to hear you say that, Chairman Abbas. Integrity is the most important criteria. Chairman Sharif Abbas of the Commission on Elections. Sir, thank you very much for joining us this evening on the show. Coming up, after running the country's capital, Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno eyeing the presidency next year. Be right back.
O, anyari sa'yo? Ba't nakasimangot ka? Alam ko na. Masakit ang katawan mo, ano? Sa sobrang trabaho? O di kaya masakit ang ulo sa sobrang stress? Break ka muna. Hinga ng malalim at imasahe ang ulo mo gamit ang Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Ako rin ganun eh. Kaya pag mataas ang tensyon sa trabaho, mag-Herbalaya break ka muna.
Herbalaya Liniment Oil. Amoy na kaaya-aya. Sa bawat pahid ay ginhawa. Suportahi ang imong immune system para mabatukan niini ang mga viruses sama sa corona ug uban pa. Pag Herbalaya Food Supplement every day. Aduna kini mga natural herbs ug antioxidants nga mopakusog sa imong immune system. Batukan ang mga viruses. Mag Herbalaya Food Supplement matag adlaw. Inyong mapalit sa inyong mga suking butika bisan asa. Herbalaya Food Supplement. Atong saligan aron virus malikayan.
Mahalagang paalala, ang produktong ito ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
DX.
Welcome back to Politics as Usual. From Manila Mayor, he's now gunning for the presidency. Our second guest tonight, presidential aspirant Isko Moreno. Good evening, Mayor, and belated happy birthday. You turned 47 on Sunday. Tama, no? Had you waited,
Thank
my
you.
first question, no?
Thank
Had you waited 6 years to run for president, meaning you stay 2 more terms in Manila, assuming you do a good job, of course, you would still be a young 53 by 2028. So the question is, and try to answer it in as brief a time as possible, why now and not 2028?
Well, there's so many challenges in our country right now, especially sa buhay ng tao. And if we can duplicate what we have done in Manila, in the entire country, which is scalable, then we'll be happy to be of service to the people.
Well, you know, you're getting a lot of criticism, plenty of vitriol on social media no, these days. Grabe talaga ang banat sa'yo, ha? Bantay sarado ka ng mga Lenny supporters. Ano? Lahat ng bumabati ko sa'yo, halos lahat sa Twitter, mga Lenny supporters talaga. No? Pero ang tanong kasi, and this is one of the criticisms, no? Bakit naman daw kasi mo ginamit yung salitang yellow tard? Because, you know, they're saying it's incorrect, you know, you're referring to mental retardation, for example. And not only that, nagpalit na sila ng kulay, pink na eh.
Oh, and that's why dapat hindi sila affected. But be that as it may, I have move on. If they were offended, I'm no angel, but definitely I'm not the devil. Just trying to stress some points, and that was you know, so many days ago. And we try to concentrate on the issues at hand, task ahead, focus tayo sa tao. Yun lang ang buhay natin bilang kandidato, maipaliwanag sa tao ano ang pinaghuhugutan natin.
Ang mahirap lang kasi, Yormen, di ba? Ang hirap minsan bawiin yung nasabi mo na, unless gusto mo talaga sabihin at gigil ka na talaga na sabihin yon. Pero hindi lang kasi yung choice of words ang ikinagagalit nga ng mga Lenny supporters, no? Yung mga, ang tawag nga nila sa kanila sarili, mga kakamping, no? Pero pati daw yung sinabi mo about a healing presidency. So they take issue with you on that because they say that what that means is that you will not exact accountability. So let's settle the matter once and for all. No? Will you exact accountability? Will you make sure that people are accountable? For example, on extrajudicial killings, in the war on drugs, or the excesses of the administration of Ferdinand Marcos, the father of a fellow presidential aspirant. Will you exact accountability?
Yes, of course. I made that commitment under the rule of law. Ayoko kasi nung kapritsyo, Ms. Pia. Ayoko yung paghihiganti lamang. Anyway, nabigyan sila ng pagkakataon nung araw. Maraming panahon. 12 years. Whatever they have not done yet, I'll just pursue it. If there is liability on anybody, that includes former president, whether the family who benefited from it, no, whoever, especially in the yung what we call the nag-abuso sa pandemya, and the EJK. That's why I made a statement about the ICC investigation. I'll welcome it. I'll open the government to anybody. That includes international community, and if we can revive our posture as a state, no, in the world, then so be it. But under the rule of law. Hindi yung kapritsyo. Kasi ang nakakalungkot, no, Pia, no, it's been 30 years ng away nila. Hindi naman umunlad ng Pilipinas. Hindi naman bumuti ang buhay ng tao. Tapos nadamaan pa tayo ng pandemya. I just wanted you and the people to live in our present and work together to create and build a better future for the remainders of our lives, no, moving forward. But we will never forget what happened in the past. We will learn from their mistakes, and we will adapt on those things that are successful and duplicable.
Another issue they brought up against you, Mayor Isko, and this is an opportunity for you to respond to them, no? Because they also call you a Duterte candidate, pakawala ka raw ng administrasyon. In fairness to you, we could draw parallels here, no? Because what's happening to you now and what happened in 2010 kay Manny Villar. At that time, the opposition, the Liberal Party and allies went after Manny Villar and claimed he was President Arroyo's secret candidate. And so they called him Villarroyo and then it stuck, no? So, pakawala ka ba? Yes or no?
No.
No.
That's a no.
Okay.
But definitely, I'm a president of a party and I ran under my party. Hindi na nagkunwari.
Sinong ano? Who are you referring to with that?
Diba, if you're a president and if you're endorsed by the party, and if you're the chairman or president of the party, you take the lead of the party. You bring the banner. You should not be ashamed of your party mates.
Who are you referring to? Sino presidential aspirant
Nothing.
na yun?
I'm referring to
Wala
myself.
naman. Okay.
I'm referring to myself.
Okay. Mayor Isko, do you feel embattled, no? Parang wala ka na talagang ginawang tama pag may sinasabi kang mali. Napagsasabihan ka ba ng mga advisors mo? Does someone correct you? You know, do you feel like everybody's after me?
Well, Lee Kuan Yew was that in the beginning because he was very firm and sometimes emotional and passionate about issues of the country, issues of the people. And siguro masyado ko lang dinadamdam yung pagiging idolo ko kay Lee Kuan Yew na sometimes you have to be true to the people and you don't like sugarcoating, you don't like motherhood statement. Kasi there is a real situation, there is a real threat to our health. There is a real threat to the lives of our people. Tumaas na naman ang gasolina. Pia, tataas pa yan, lalamig pa. Ang dami pang problema. Maraming walang trabaho. Maraming nahihirapan. May bago na, yung Newport, di ba? Yung mga nagbabayad ng bahay nila, yung nagbabayad ng kotse nila, maraming kulang ang trabaho. You know, there are so many things that I think we should focus on. Because, modesty aside, no, we have naman prototype on what we claim, no, on how we claim it, and how we're gonna do it because we did it. It's not about my daddy did or who did it for them. No, it's about where were you on the time ng pandemya. Yun tingin ko yun ang gusto makita ng tao. No? Yun dapat malaman ng tao and you deserve that.
Yes.
Now, where are we going?
Oh, we're going to get to that in a bit, Mayor. I just need to finish these two brief questions with your two brief answers. No, so the next question here is what's going on. So we had Kabayan withdraw, okay? Cesar Chavez leaving. Samira melting behind you on stage, no? when you were saying those things. Florin Hilbay quitting the party. No need to repeat the reasons because we already heard them. Lito Banayo also explained, no? But the question here is...
I don't know Hilbay, I don't know him, personally.
Pero umalis na siya sa partido
I have no
kasi.
idea.
You don't know why, okay.
Action pala siya.
Okay, hindi kasi gusto daw niya kay Lenny. Anyway, Mayor, so the question here lang is, are you aware that this, in a way, made your party look bad? Na parang, ano nangyayari? So, just very briefly, can you address that issue? And then we'll move on.
Well, we're growing. We grew by 1,000% as a party. No? And Action Democratico Chairman Ernest and the member of the Execom were very happy. And kanina, nag-celebrate nga ng masa bilang pagkilala kay Senator Raul Roco. At I'm very happy and honored to bring the banner of the Action Democrato. We are growing. Okay. We are growing.
Okay, that so you're growing.
In fact, baka kami pa maging Pia, baka sakali lang ayoko lang pangunahan sila Chairman Abbas and Comelec. Baka pa kami pa maging dominant minority.
Okay.
That's how we grew exponentially.
Okay, so therefore, as dominant minority you get. Anyway, okay, naku, mag-wrap na raw. All right, naku, ang hirap nito. Okay, so we have, everything that's happened over the weekend, BBM, Sara, etc. And syempre, ang tanong ng tao mag-unite ba kayong apat? You, Lenny, Manny, and Ping, no? And also, I wanted to ask you about a choice, no? If you had a choice, if you do become president, sino magiging health secretary mo?
Well, I'll bring, bibigyan ko ng laya si Dr. Willie Ong kasi gusto ko siya maging sekretaryo ng kalusugan bilang Vice President.
Kung manalo siya
pero
as
sabi
VP.
niya, tutulong siya sa akin pero tutulong din siya makapamili ng mapipili niya, mapupusuan niyang magaling, episyente at may kakayanang pamunuan yung usaping pangkalusugan ng mga kababayan natin Pilipino.
Okay, and would you ever unite you, Manny, Ping, Lenny? Because
If
you
we are
have the
going to
possibility
unite-
of a BBM Sara.
If we are going to unite on the issues at hand and challenges of our people, then I'm willing. But if you're going to unite just to win, because they wanted to win, no, medyo hindi ako masyadong ano doon eh. Kasi kailangan, ang pag-usapan natin yung problema ng tao, yun ang pagkaisahan natin, yung katatayuan ng tao.
All right. Well, thank you very much. As always, we ran
Thank
out of
you,
time.
ma'am.
Kulang talaga sa oras. Mayor Isko Moreno, Yorme, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hope to see you again. Salamat po, sir. We've been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here at this table, on this show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m.
DX General Santos.
Mga balita sa Kapitolyo sa Sarangani.
14-day quarantine period, kinahanglang tumanon. Dili maglatagaw kung wala pa nahuman ang kwarantina, bisan negatibo pa ang resulta sa swab test. Subling nagpasidaan karon si Sarangani Province Provincial Health Officer Dr. Arvin Alejandro nga tumanon ang 14 kaadlaw nga kwarantina aron sigurado nga dili makapanakod sa uban. Sa ilang kasinatian, adunay higayon matud pa nga nahimong negatibo ang resulta sa swab test sa usa ka tawo atol sa ikanapulo ka adlaw gikan sa hilom nga pagkatakod sa COVID-19. Apan pag-abot sa ika-14 ka adlaw, positibo na diay. Kana tungod matud pa sa average incubation period sa coronavirus nga moabot og 14 dias. Incubation period ang panahon nga gatigom og viral load igo nga maka-impeksyon sa tao. Rason nga dili maglatagaw kung wala pa nahuman ang pagkwarentina bisan pa man nga nagnegatibo na ang unang resulta sa swab test. Kini nga palisiyang dili lang alang sa mga direktang pasyente sa COVID-19 kundili apil na ang mga naduulan og mga primary contact magpuyo sa barangay, municipal o home quarantine kung wala pa nahuman ang isolation. Giibot yan ni Dr. Alejandro nga sa ilang pagsiguro nga dili makatakboy sa ubang individual, hilabi na nga padayon panggasaka ang mga kaso sa Tibok Region 12. Moabot sa 21 kaadlaw ang quarantine period sa mga pasyente nga may sakit ng daan o may comorbidity. Panigurado kini nga mga lakang aron walay mga takdan bisan sa miyembro sa pamilya o dili madisgrasya ang pasyente. Suportado kini nga mga patakaran ni Governor Steve Chongbian Solon, kauban ang 7 ka mayor og nila Vice Governor Elmer D. Peralta. Tanang board member, lakip na nila Senador Manny og Congressman Ruel Pacquiao tungod bililhon ang kinabuhi sa tao. Ang pagtakdanay karon sa coronavirus sa Rehiyon 12 ang nahitabo sulod na sa mga panimalay kung diin nag-unay na sa pagtakdanay ang mga miyembro sa pamilya. Mapugnan kini kung istrikto mo tuman sa kwarantina o sa pagsunod sa personal safety protocol, bisan pa nag-usara puyo sa Pinoyanan. Sama na lang sa makanunayon nga pag-face mask, pagdistansya sa makauban sa balay, o ang pag-disinfect matag karon og unya sa lawas. Gipabantayan karon ni Pangulong Duterte ang pagdaghan sa Delta variant. Mao kini ang variant gikan sa India nga nipatay na halos tunga sa milyon kabuok mga Indian hangtod ning panahona. Nigawas matud pa sa pagtuon sa experience sa India nga kadtong wala ga face shield sa ilaha ang kasagaran na ngaigo sa variant sa coronavirus. Nag-final order na si Presidente Duterte nga padayong mag-face